Good morning, everybody. Beautiful day here in the neighborhood. Just thought I would start this a little bit differently than most episodes and take you with me as I'm heading out to the shop. Get her done and get started for the day. It is a beautiful day here at my car shop. So today we're back on the Stitches Challenger, doing a little something different. We're going to actually be stripping today. That sounds terrible. As always, I'm trying to find something to do that motivates me, that gets me moving forward, something that piques my interest, something that's a little different. I like a lot of variety, and I still want to keep motivated on really getting serious about this project. So what we're going to do today is maybe a little segue on the project, but it's still something that needs to be done. And sometimes we need to keep that in mind. We can get so focused on the thing that's the most important to accomplish that we forget that we can actually be just defeating ourselves because we're getting bogged down. So let's watch the show intro. I'll see you in about 30 seconds. I'm Mike, and this is My Car's Shop.
Working out of a 100-year-old refurbished barn, bringing 35 years of experience to projects considered beyond repair. Vision, creativity, and problem solving are essential tools in this place. Watch as we transform junk into polished metal miracles. This is My Car's Shop.
So today I've dragged the deck lid down. We're going to look this over and determine what we need to do to get this deck lid in shape, if it's going to be fixable. See what needs, and then begin the process of refurbishing and restoring this old rusty, crappy deck lid. Provided, of course, that it's fixable. The worst part of the deck lid is right here. It's definitely going to take some metal work in here to fix these rust holes. So we'll probably have to put a corner on. And let's flip it over and look over the other side as well. I believe this was a non-roof rack deck lid and somebody punched holes in it like that. I don't believe those are factory access holes. The pinch welds or the pinch edges here are not too bad. We may have to open those up a little bit so that we can get down behind in there and see what things look like. That's a very tedious, careful process. And overall, again, this hole here looks more like a factory unit, but I still don't think this was a factory roof rack or trunk rack car. Another one punched in here. Again, this is that real bad spot. So we've definitely got some inner work to do on this deck lid along in here. You can see that underneath that pinch weld on this side, it's pretty bad. Likewise, right there. So we've got our work cut out for us. Obviously, looking at the condition of this deck lid, a person might say, why in the world would you even mess with this? Well, first of all, I'm feeling it, and it's pretty flat. Yes, it's got a lot of pits in it. There's a little wow right there because of that luggage rack, but overall, it's not bad. And if this surface of this deck lid was beat up really bad, I wouldn't mess with it. But here's the thing. As Ruben so aptly pointed out just recently, our channel really is the This Old House of automotive restoration. And we take on projects that other people would throw away. Now, I know that I could go buy a brand new deck lid for this car for between $200 and $300. Maybe a higher quality one would be a little more. I could probably find a used one for anywhere between $50 and $150. But what do I learn by bolting on a used part? Nothing. What's the challenge in bolting on a used part? Nothing. What's the challenge in bolting on a new part? Oh, there is something there. I'm not saying there's not, because most of the times these parts don't fit right and you end up having to adjust an edge and all kinds of other things. But end of the day, I have a part here that probably nobody else would save that's going to end up on the scrap pile. This is not a concourse restoration car. It's not a numbers matching car. It's stitches, which means that we are taking our needle and thread and stitching this car back together again. So I'm trying to use as much as I can that came on the car. So the first thing that I want to do is just strip this thing down and get all of this rust off of it and see if it's even going to be salvageable. I don't know. I speculate based upon experience that it's going to be. But until we dive into it, we're not going to know. So we'll spend a few hours on it and maybe we'll find out that it's better off to just buy one. But here's the thing. Yes, I could go out and buy the parts and save a lot of time. I'm not going to save much money that way, probably, but I enjoy the experience of doing this, and I enjoy demonstrating to you that don't just assume something's garbage. You may be able to fix it and save yourself a bunch of money if you have the time. There are a lot of ways that we could strip this thing down. The paint is mostly gone. There's just a little bit here, a little bit there. Mostly it's just rust. Lots and lots of rust. But you don't dare sandblast a part like this because it will destroy it, and then it's junk. And yes, I have fixed panels for customers who were helping me out by sandblasting stuff before they brought it to me for paint. And please don't do that. Please, please. I got the horror stories I can tell you of, oh, I can't afford to buy a new part. You're going to have to fix it. And I am the dummy that just says, yes, okay, and I go ahead and do it. But I don't want to have to do that, and I'm certainly not going to on my own parts. You can sandblast it, you can get it, you can't sandblast it, sorry. You could potentially get it soda blasted or something that's easier, not generating a lot of heat. But quite frankly, I like to use the old grinder and just go at it that way. Now, here's the thing about using a grinder is you do have to be careful. Because you can generate heat, especially with this thing that's as rusty as it is. This metal's a bit thin and it's got a lot of pits in it. So you want to be careful not to get too carried away. But like I said, let's see if we can salvage something that most everybody else would just throw away. Just about time to change the disc, but I thought it would be worth mentioning when you run into a body line like this, be very careful. Don't go getting carried away because you'll take the crispness out of that. So you'll notice that I'm just working up to it like this as I'm going along. It's the same thing you would do when you're sanding primer. Is just work your grinder up to that edge like that and be careful not to take that line out. And then when I get over here, I'll do the same thing and just work up to it like this. Being very careful not to take that line out. So I've got to swap out my discs. You're going to go through a lot of these. There's no way around that. This rust really dulls these up. But I'll get the handheld here and I'll go around and I'll show you what we've got so far and what I'm noticing and what I'm feeling in this panel. Okay, so here's what we've got. It feels good out here. I don't feel any whoops in there at all now that the rust is gone. There's a little bit right there, but remember, we're going to be replacing a big chunk of this corner anyway. So, you know, I don't know how far up we'll come. There's definitely a little low spot there, and there's one there. We will probably replace this from like here up into here somewhere. We'll see, I don't know. But there is a dent there. There's obviously a dent right here where this roof rack is, but it's not much. We'll talk about the solution for that. Got a little bit of a high spot right there. That will peen down. I'm not worried about that. Nothing there. Okay, yeah, we got that dent right there. I can still feel that. Hopefully we can peen that down a little bit because it feels like what's happened is with them tightening this up, it sucked it up. Feels good. Don't feel any problems. Little dent right there. Over time with experience, your hands get very good at detecting issues. Minor low spot there. That's only a couple mil. And I don't mean millimeters by that, by the way. Another dent right there. It's really sucked down right there where that was. We'll be able to pull that up. There's a dent right there. Even low, yeah, it's a little bit low right there. Not bad. So overall, so far, this panel is not bad. This is definitely salvageable. Interestingly, as I'm working on it here, there must be just enough heat from the grinder going into it that it's actually stiffening this thing up a little bit. You'll notice that I really ground down hard here. I ground down somewhat hard there and here, grinding those dimples down a little bit, and some of that heat may be making the difference in how stiff that is. I can definitely feel the difference between the two sides. There's my grinding disc. It's pretty much shot, but I can use it for other things. But for this hard cut, I definitely need to put another one on and go over that half of the deck lid one more time. We haven't warped anything yet, although I have come darn close a couple times. The rule of thumb with anything with sheet metal, don't get it hotter than your hand can hold against it. So if you can't, when you're done, take the grinder away. If you can't put your hand there without going, ow, it's too hot. So you'll notice we got a few spots where the metal has come back, but the point is to get this down to a rust convertible surface that we can convert this rust or chemically eat the rust off. I'm not sure which way we're going yet, but to get that cleaned up so that we can get a good seal on it and get some good primer on it. So the thing with doing this, you got to take your time. You can't rush because you will warp the material. I've been doing it this way forever. Using a grinder to take off the old paint on the 47 Ford back there. That car was rust pitted like this, as well as had pine pitch all over it. It was a mess. I went through probably 100 discs getting that car, just the roof cleaned up, plus that roof was caved in, but that's another story. But so far, on the time we have into this, which is, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours? I don't know, I lose track of time when I'm doing this. I would guess an hour. We've got about a half done, and it's not far away from being able to, I'm probably going to acid etch this, but I have to see if I have any acid because that product is getting hard to get. So, all right, let's keep getting after it and getting more done. Since I've never used this product in this way, I'm going to try a little bit of this super clean wheel cleaner and just see if it will eat any of this rust. We used this in the Oakland oil pan to clean the rust, and it did a good job. And so being as this is all an experiment and this thing may be junk anyway, why not try it? So I'm going to do a corner right here with this stuff and we'll see what it does. Again, it's just an acid that could eat the rust away. There are other acids I could use, but it did a good job in that oil pan, so why not try a spot? We'll let that soak for a while and we'll see what it does. I'm going to try a couple of things. First of all, I'm really pleased. I sprayed it down, scrubbed it around, sprayed it one more time, scrubbed it around, and it's cleaning up. So we're going to get this off of here. I'm also going to just try a little on that side before I do all of this grinding, because I'm always looking for ways to make things easier. And I just hadn't thought of that to try it. So I'm going to do that corner over there with it, and we'll see what happens. But let's wipe this down right now and see what we get. I'm fairly impressed with that. Look at all the rust coming off of there. I bet if we hit that again, it'll be even better. The other thing I'm wondering is, now that I've done this, is that rust loosened up a little bit, that when we hit this with the DA, it may come up easier. I don't know, but this is actually, as far as I'm concerned, it's close enough to being a paintable surface now. All right, let's go ahead and spray this all down. Let it soak for a while. See what we get. But be conscious of what I'm spraying on the floor. I did a little corner over there too, to just try it, but you can already see it starting to go orange, which is interesting. I think that that's not going to work very well, because I think it needs to be ground down first and get that rust kind of down to the nitty-gritty of the bottom of it there, so that the chemical can do its job. I've never done this before, so far, kudos to Super Clean. I'm pretty impressed with what it's doing. Would I do this on a big dollar car? Not until I've done it on a cheap piece of crap like this about a dozen times to know the long-term effects over a couple of years. Okay, so here's what I want you all to see. Notice the rust that's coming up. I've just wire brushed it down again. It's been soaking for about 5 minutes. I have not resprayed it. But this corner here, look at that. It's clear. There's no rust coming up with that. So that tells me that one layer of this is probably going to do it for to get that rust off, so that this is a rust convertible surface. So what I'm probably going to do is just continue to let that soak. It's not going to hurt anything as long as it doesn't dry. And I think I got to go look at this side. I'm going to scrub this down a little bit here and see if we get any more rusty, because I wiped that down. We'll see if we get any more rust up. I'm wondering if I should spray the whole thing down, but I'm not sure yet. I'm still figuring this out as I go. This is all an experiment. So as I've been working through this side, I've been realizing that I didn't get enough off over here except for this one corner, and you guys probably could see that in the video because you have a little more perspective than I do. So I drug out the big guns. I got one of these big grinding wheels, and I'm just going through and kind of chipping it up a little bit, if you will, And I'll go back over here and do this side too once I'm done over here. But all this is doing, and again, I'm being very careful with the heat and I'm not going fast. I'm just trying to get it broken down a little bit more so those blue discs will take the rest of it off. So I'm just going to keep going over it, keeping things cool. I'm keeping my grinder down around 3, just so that things don't get going too fast. And we're making good progress here. I'll give you an update here in a couple of minutes, just to get you up close and personal what it's looking like. 17 weeks later, I'm almost done. Yeah, I definitely hadn't got as much off of there as I should have, so I'm getting close now. I like sharing the details, but you don't want to sit here and watch 6 hours of video of me grinding this stuff off. But it's getting close. I got a little more to do on this side, and 10-15% to do over there. Okay, so we're really close. There's a few little spots here and there, but not bad. There was a couple of oil can spots over here, but I was able to just work around out here with the grinder, and they're gone. So that's good. It's one of the things that can happen when you start taking the rust off is, you're taking off a couple mil of material. So things change. But you can hopefully see the difference here with this now. Yeah, I was ahead of myself when I started putting the super clean on. And, I could edit all that out and look like I'm really smart, but I keep telling you I'm not. I just figure this crap out as I go. We're getting close here. Trying to decide what the next step I want to do is. I'm probably going to go over it with the DA this time, just real quickly. Nothing major, some 36 grit if I have it, and go from there. But big steps, big progress. You can see we got a lot more bare metal now. I don't know where my head was earlier with all of that rust over on that side. And the more I looked at this corner here, the more I was realizing that there was just still a whole crap ton of rust in here that needed to be gone. So. Much better. Y'all can laugh at me if you want. I just didn't see it. I get so involved in what I'm doing. It's a process for me. It's a thinking process. It's an experience. And sometimes I get so caught up in what I'm doing, I don't see that I didn't have the rust off like I wanted. But this is much better. Looks good. So a few more things I found as I was going along here. I mentioned this corner down here. There's also back here a couple little pinholes. We may be able to just spot those, or we may have to replace the corner. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of good practicing with the TIG welder, that's for sure. Notice now that I have my center strip cleaned up, so I worked it with the grinder. I did get a couple gouges in there, but that's no big deal. Prime will fill all that in, or I'll put a little Bondo in it. But I did the best I could and then went over it with the DA and I got it cleaned up very nicely, so that's good. So a couple of things that I am going to do next. First, I need to eat lunch. Well, need to clean my hands first and probably comb my hair and do all kinds of pretty things like that. But I need to go to town and get some more rust conditioner. But something I've not done before on this particular, well, ever, is I use the Rust-Oleum rust converter in all the interior stuff, but I've never tried it on an external panel. And because Stitches is an experimental project through and through, I'm going to try that before I put the whatever it is, the primer that I'm using. I can't remember what it is, but it'll come to me and I'll tell you. But I'm going to coat this with rust conditioner before I spray my first layer of primer. If you've watched the other paint episodes I've done, I go into a lot of detail in how I do paint work and prep work and the primers that I use and so forth. So if you look at episodes on the 47 Ford, probably starting around 20 to 25 when I'm painting the front fenders and all of that I'm doing on that. If you want to know that information now, that's a place you can go. I will share it again as we go forward, but just wanted to mention that here. But I do want to try that Rust-Oleum rust conditioner as a base coat underneath. I feel like it starts with a K. The primer, anyway, that I'm using. I just got to go get it. I can't stand not knowing. It's going to drive me nuts. 2K, that's what it is. It's a product by Nason, which is a product of DuPont. I've been using this stuff for years, and I just really, really like the way that it adheres and how easy it sands. And this has got big chunks in it. I think it's been sitting around too long. Little tip, I store my primers upside down. I store my paints upside down. That way, if the lid leaks at all, it will self-seal and you won't get air in the can, and stuff will sit on the shelf a lot longer and not dry out. And then when you flip it over, once that little chunk that's in the top, because it was here, top, falls, you've got a loose wad of your pigments and so forth in there moving around, and it just saves a lot of time. So we had to do a little shifting gears because no place I went had any more of the Rust-Oleum rust reformer, so I'm going back and doing this old school. I dug around and I still have some of my metal etch steel cleaner W4K288 Sherwin-Williams, which I doubt you can get anymore. I've had this for 25 years probably. Probably done a dozen or more cars with it. There's still about that much left. So we'll go through this process and show you that, since I can't show you the other one. So technically the way you're supposed to do this is mix some of that with water and then spray it on there and wipe it down and let it dry. But my spray bottle has a hole in it right here, and I don't really want to put more acid. There's a little teeny bit in there. So I'm going to do this the alternate way. And remember that this is an acid you're dealing with, so you want to be sure to do the safe thing and wear rubber gloves and safety glasses and all of that. So I'm going to do that and not do any of that. So the goal here is just wipe it on there, move it all around. You can kind of see when you've got it on there because the rust starts turning black, and that means that's converting that rust. There's another step to this process here we'll get in just a minute. So now I'm going to take my water bottle, which does have a little bit of this acid, and I'm still going to use the same rag, and I'm just going to hose this down to the best of my ability. See if I can get it to spray. And it is dripping, so I guess the sprayer doesn't spray anymore. So it drips out the back and squirts out the front. Sounds like bowel and bladder control problems to me. But again, we're just getting as much of this on there as we can. And we really want this wet because we want it to soak down into the pits of the rust that are here. And I'm just going to take my same rag and wipe that all down real good. And this is the way I've done this for, oh my goodness, 30 years probably, at least 20. Probably close to 30 because I probably, oh yeah, this goes back before my son was born, and he's 30, so yeah, it's over 30 years now I've been doing it this way. I was wanting to do something new, but Walmart didn't cooperate and allow me to have the material. So I'm going to take that as a sign from the universe and say, maybe my idea was not the best. Okay, so that's been kind of soaking in there for, I don't know, 10 minutes, maybe 5, maybe an hour. So I'm just taking a dry rag now and wetting it down. No, wiping it down, drying it. And the point is not to remove the acid. The point is to dry it because you want it to stay there. And we'll get the handheld and come over here and show you what we got after this is all completely dry. Looking good. I'm gonna have to remember to put this shirt in the wash tonight because I did get a little bit on the sleeve right here. It's not gonna be as bad as battery acid, but I've had this shirt for, I don't know, 20 years, 30 years. I've had it a while. I kind of like to keep it for a while longer. Okay, next stop is a new rag with Prep-Sol. So I have my can of Auto Body Master Professional Paint Prep 5900 Wax and Grease Remover, 100% virgin solvents, Prep-Sol. And all this is a wax and grease remover. Now you can see that things are starting to go yellow here. So we're gonna run over this with the Prep-Sol. That will remove any contaminants and help things to dry the rest of the way. And never, ever put your rag over the can. I've said this before, I will say this again. Pour your stuff onto your rag. Otherwise you're washing contaminants back in and you're contaminating your stuff and ruining it, and then it won't work. Okay, our etching is dry. You can see it's got just a little bit of a gray haze to it now. That means that the etch has done its job. My hands are very clean, but I still don't want to touch this because we're getting ready to put the next phase of material on here. Now, why am I doing all that when I haven't done these patches? Because I want to keep this nice. I don't want this to corrode anymore. I want this to be nice and stay. And yeah, we're going to have a lot of different places to patch, like here, here. So I've spent a few minutes now wandering around the shop trying to figure out where the product is that I just bought to put on here because I couldn't get that Rust-Oleum. And let's see if I can show you what I finally found. Right over there on that car right there, there's 2 spray cans right on the wing, and they're not in the shop. They're over there. So let's go over there and bring them over here. I got the product from over there to over here now. And, well, it's a DuPont product. It's a Nason Etch Prime. I know that some people prefer other brands, but I've been a big DuPont fan for a long time because when they mix their paint, they mix less runs per gallon than any other paint company that I know of. Maybe except for one other. I've sprayed Sherwin-Williams, I've sprayed PPG. Kim, if you're watching, sorry, I know you like PPG, but I'm a big DuPont fan. But I've sprayed them all, and any good painter can paint anything. It's just a matter of learning how the product works. I mentioned my friend Kim. She owns a body shop up in Canada, Finish Line Refinishing. Beautiful hot rod shop, lots of Mopar stuff. I don't think she has a YouTube channel, but I think she might have a Facebook page. She definitely has a website, so go check her out. And I will double check and put the correct name of her business. She just opened this new shop, and she does amazing work. And so, Kim, I'm not dissing PPG. I've sprayed tons of it, but I really like my DuPont. All right, enough chatter. Let's get our, I can't see it, but let's get our self-etching primer on this thing and let it start drying so that we can get our 2K put on top of that. I was just looking on the screen on the camera as I was setting up this shot, and I noticed right in here, I think you can see a real nice bronze colored hue to all of this. That's all over this, but you just have to get the light in the right direction. And that means that the etch product that we put on there is really doing its job. So again, next thing we're gonna do is this etching primer. Another tidbit of information, I keep old respirators around like this one I would never use for painting because the charcoal activation is probably shot. But the pad filters are still good. And so for rattle can stuff that I know I'm going to be doing a lot, especially when it's a professional grade product, not a consumer grade product, I like to put a little something on. I'm not sure it does any good, but I like to put it on so that psychologically I feel like I'm protected. Fresh out of the can. Doesn't look like the same Decklid, does it? I understand this is not a fill at all. There's zero fill properties to this primer. This is just strictly an etching product. And they say that all you really need with this etching product, especially if you've used the acid etch that I did, they say that all you really need is just a light dusting, but I always like to put a decent coat on. I mean, my goal is not to make it so that it's completely painted like it looks like it's finished, obviously. We've got a lot of little pits. And you can kind of see down in there. But considering what we started with, and keeping in mind the context of our channel here, this is going to turn out pretty respectable. You can see I got a few little grind marks here and there in the metal. Don't care. A little bit more in here. Don't care. There's two ways that we can do this, and I'm not sure which way I'm going to do this yet, but probably, well, let me let you stop looking at the Decklid and let you see my pretty face. So what I'm probably going to do, old school me would probably skim coat this with just a very light skim coat of Bondo. It's flat. There's just a couple little divots in there that I will probably, I worked most of those out with the grinder actually. There's just a couple little spots that I might do just a touch of tiger hair, but there's only going to be a couple of mils of material on here. But what I will probably do, and what I've been doing for the last few years that I really like, the 47 was not done this way, but I think any car I've painted since then, I will give it a coat, 2, maybe 3 coats of polyester primer. Now, polyester primer is technically not primer. Polyester primer is basically a spray Bondo. So I could spend all my time, old school me, skim coating like I used to do, or I could just shoot it with some polyester and block it out with some 80 grit, and usually that takes care of it and makes it nice and flat. And you only end up with just a very small amount of material on there, and it turns out pretty nice. So that's probably where we're going to go with this. It's just a time saver. Like I said, the roof of the 47 we definitely skim coated. That car was, the roof was caved in when I got it, and I hammered and dollied that roof all out, and then we skim coated the whole roof and blocked it out. And polyester primer is a fairly new product, and I try to stay current, but I don't. That is encouraging. It makes me want to go get the driver's side quarter panel out of the box and get the Clecos out and put that on the car, except, well, it's kind of pointless. But it's really cool to see a panel on this car that is closer to being finished than it was when we started. We're going to have to stop here because this needs to cure for a while, a couple of hours or 16 weeks, whatever it is when I get to it next. Seriously, I do need to get back on this because it's a lacquer-based primer, and all primers, for the most part, a couple exceptions, all primers absorb moisture, but if we get the 2K on there, it'll be less likely to absorb moisture. Mail call, and I had mentioned people want to send me stuff send me an email at mycarspage, mykarspage @gmail.com. Thank you for the people that have sent me things. I know some of you are still sending stuff. Shoot me an email over there and I'll give you my mailing address. But our friends over at Iron Horse Garage wanted to send us some stuff here at the shop. We're going to open this up here on the channel and let you see what we got. They taped the top up so well. I'm going to go in from the bottom. What do we got? Make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm not going to blow in the envelope. I've watched NCIS. I know that there could be anthrax or something in there. So we got a couple of business cards from Iron Horse Garage. And they sent me a couple of stickers, like 3. We're going to find some really cool places to put these. So thanks guys, I appreciate it, and I always appreciate the support of your channel. If you guys haven't checked out Iron Horse Garage, they have a ball over there. I really get a kick out of what they do, so go check them out here on YouTube. Oh, super clean giveaway. Drop a comment down there with @super easy, super nice. That's not it. I'll put it down here. All you got to do to enter the drawing is enter @super easy, super fast in the comments. And you'll be entered in the drawing for the super clean products. The only stipulation is you do have to have a USA mailing address. We're going to be doing this drawing probably a week from today. This should be a Friday video, depending on my production schedule. Rock on.
I said, rock on!